What's up, everybody? Thanks for sticking with me. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Hopefully get some people in the chat and get going. Thanks for being patient with me. Of course, technical difficulties on that first stream should be.
Thanks for being patient with me. Of course.
All right, love it. Hey, Nicholas, how you doing, man? Thanks for being patient with me. A lot easier this time around than just a little bit ago. So that's always nice. We'll get going here. Want to take the time to show you just a little bit of, kind of what I'm thinking about when I'm browsing through eBay. Talk a little bit about how I look at stuff. Get actually into some different configurations, looking for different cards. Show you how to actually hunt out some deals and maybe show you some stuff. Hopefully I can find a couple of the things that I've bid on and have lost out on a lot of stuff recently. I know the cards are just going crazy in terms of being able to get get a winning bid, right? There's a lot of last minute bidders, a lot of guys that snipe. So we'll talk through that a little bit, talk about some strategies around that as well. So yeah, we'll hopefully take maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes, something like that, go through it, show you a little bit about how I kind of look at different things on eBay. A lot of it I also do on my phone. Obviously, if I go to a card show or if I'm at my LCS, having just the iPhone up with the eBay app, look at comps, be able to see kind of what's there. Obviously, the configuration on the phone is a little bit different, but the concept is the same. And so certainly, like a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is on the browser or on the desktop, but is certainly applicable on your phone when you're out in the wild, so to speak. So if you guys want, I know we've got Nicholas in the chat. I think there may be a couple others. If you guys want to leave me a question or if you've got some other things you want to find out about, happy to help, right? Like, want this to be educational for you guys. That's really what it's all about. But yeah, I'm going to get into it. So what I'm going to do now is show my screen, and hopefully I've got this set up right to where I should be able to get in and see eBay alongside that. I'm going to check it real quick. Yep, looks like we've got that up next to me there, so that's good. You can see my face. And then let me turn on chat, and that should be down at the bottom. If you guys get that set up, it should go away, or you get that set up there. So, all right, so I'm going to show you eBay, show you a little bit of kind of about how I'm going about looking at stuff. Obviously, if you guys are familiar with Boolean search terms, right, like a lot of how you're actually going to look for cards is dependent upon literally right here at this search button. So you can kind of see some of the stuff I've been looking at, right? Like, no doubt, looking at Lucas stuff, looking at Jason Dominguez, right? So those are some easy ones if you kind of see my history. So let's just start first, and I'll show you Luka rookie. I usually, if I'm going just to like find something, if I'm trying to browse a little bit, you'll kind of see here are some of my search terms or some of the things that eBay, these are eBay suggestions, where they'll give you, like some things here. So one of the big differences is if you type in Luka rookie, it's going to give you Luka Samanic, it's going to give Luka Doncic, it's going to give you the actual word rookie, or if you actually put in RC, like a lot of people use that as an abbreviation for rookie card. But it's going to give you all those results pretty much unfiltered. So if we just type in rookie, it should give us 2018, 2019. It should give us Luka Doncic. It should give us Luka Samanic, like it's not going to distinguish there. And you'll kind of see through the listings. how that sort of looks and comes about. That's a sparkle. That's kind of nice. It's ungraded though. So I kind of use this as kind of a jumping off point to either, if I don't know what I want to buy, or if I'm just kind of hunting for a deal, right? Like this Chronicles, right? Like I've been kind of looking at some of those a little bit lately. You can kind of see it's going to also give you a pretty unadulterated or just unfiltered look at like, okay, these are all mint nines. So a lot of PSA stuff, but right, like there's a Don Russell Orange Laser, there's a Select, right? Like it's going to just give you everything under the sun. And so you have to really kind of get good at also sort of filtering that down. These status ones are a couple that I've got, but that might be one. That's a mint 9. So I'm going to take a look at this. A lot of what I'm trying to do here is just get an idea of, right, what the baseline price is. I certainly am looking for cards that have buy it now, that, right, like either I can buy or that I can make an offer on if I'm trying to pick up something quick. That certainly is what I'm looking for. I definitely will also look at shipping and how they have that priced on the shipping side. Some people will put it at free shipping. Some people will put it at $3.95, which is standard USPS rate. Some people will put it at $5, so they make a little bit of money. As you go up in card value, obviously then that gets to be 5, 10, you know, on up. Yeah, so Tyler Hero, kind of in between. That's a good question. I have a couple of him, but not anything super crazy. I think he's still only 19, right? So that's definitely one that I would kind of, you know, keep an eye on. The Heat are up and coming, but he's going to need to show it on the court a little bit more. And he's got to get, you know, some more playing time, that kind of a thing. So certainly, right, when we're looking down at stuff, I always sort of start here and kind of just go down the rabbit hole. So like, here's some optic shocks. I've actually got this card, but like, let's see if I can think of a good way to do this where it'll show it a little bit differently. Well, maybe I'll come back to it. So that's a good one just to kind of start off on. One of the other ones that I think is important, let me go back up to the top and I'll kind of do another search. Sorry if I make you guys seasick. So on the baseball side, something that I've been looking to pick up, certainly hit me up if you guys know anything, right? Like, so here are some of my searches, some of the suggesteds. So Ronald Acuna Auto, bat down, PSA 10, 250, right? All that sort of stuff. I've been looking for a reasonably priced Acuna Auto. Certainly want to find something though that's tops, that isn't unlicensed. So not really looking at the National Treasures. I like High Tech. That might not be a bad one, right? That's a mint 9 of a rookie card. So a lot of times what I'll do is just heart that and come back to look at it later, and kind of go down from there. One of the things that will help when you kind of get into this and go a little bit deeper into, right? So like, I know sometimes one of the ones that I've been looking for is a Transcendent Auto. To do that, it'll kind of go down the filter for you a little bit. I'm with you guys on Devontae Graham LaQuandria. I think Devontae is actually kind of slept on under the radar a little bit. And Derek, yeah, I'm with you too. And that this draft, a lot of people have been asking me. I know people are giving out like draft predictions and stuff like that, and their draft previews. Honestly, there's not really anybody that I'm going to look at heavy. When people are buying up LaMelo or somebody like that next year, I'm going to go back and pick up more Trae Young. I'm going to go back and pick up more Luka. Zion, hopefully, will come down a little bit by then. Right, Ja, all that sort of stuff. So this gives you kind of an idea of sort of how I kind of look at things. I had a couple examples, and we'll get into them here in a minute, of some of the like things when you get down to it, trying to figure out what you're looking for. Lots are certainly good ways to be able to pick up extra cards or multiples on the cheap. So that's definitely a good way to go. So like this is one that I've kind of been, right, I'll show you Trae Young lot. So here are a couple of optic rookies. Notice that the sponsored ones always go to the top. So that's definitely, right, like something you got to keep in mind. And then, right, like let's say you can get 3 for $95. So that's just over $30 a card. Is that a good deal or not? I don't know, right? Like, so the ways that I sort of will get an idea if I don't have a sense for what that actually is going for in the market. Kind of scroll down here. It's way down. You can go to completed items and sold items. Oops, I didn't check on sold items. That will filter out your results there. So like there's 3, but those are optic, hyperpink, and rookie shock. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. But what I've done here is just Trae lot. So that, right, or Trae Young lot. So it's going to give us My House inserts. It's going to give us Mosaic inserts. It's not going to be specific to optic. But like here's a 2-card lot that sold for 46. So, right, like that gives you a good idea that that sold today, right, just a few minutes ago. So that 95 for 3, that probably isn't a good offer right off the bat. Definitely something you got to think about, right, when you're getting that set. Yeah, that was interesting to hear about people buying up Dante DiVincenzo. I'm not sure how I feel about him, right? Like the fact that he's on the Bucks, man, that's right. Like he might get a come up. I don't know. I haven't watched enough of their games to know. DiVincenzo. So, like, obviously, let's take a look at his cards. I haven't really looked at them a lot. Oh, and so here you go. So see, like, it'll tell you Dante DiVincenzo. Did you spell it right? I think I did. But I have that right toggled to where it'll just show you completed listings. So that's always important to kind of keep your idea of where you're at. Let's look at even just, right, man, when you get to these low end guys, you'll see like 100-card lot. That's super crazy compared to, you know, normally what you get for like one player kind of a thing. I love these Spectra RPAs, or jersey autos rather. I've been thinking about a Luka one on that. So that's definitely right. Like I think you can get, man, these are cheap. But I'm so used to those other higher end prices. Yeah, is he getting a lot of run, guys? Let me know. Would love to know if he, yeah, fifth best player. So maybe not getting a lot of love, but certainly those guys are loaded. So who knows, right? That's what you kind of do with some of those prospects, or kind of like the lower end draft guys in my mind, is that you might pick up a card or two. I don't know that I'd go super deep and pick up this 100-card lot. I'd rather have a higher end card. Because if that hits, then it's going to go up a heck of a lot quicker versus, man, you'd have to do a ton of work on like 100 rated rookies to sell them for $10 a pop or whatever. It would take a ton more work rather than just flipping one big card. Yeah, Porter Jr. Bagley to me is one that I feel like he's kind of gone down a little bit and probably is going to stay down. Kind of look at Michael Porter Jr. prices. So, like, this is interesting, right? You could type in Porter Jr. and it's going to give you a mix of Kevin Porter, Michael Porter. So, like, let's even go Michael Porter Jr. And then one of the things that I like to do on these lower end guys is go down here to grade, because it'll automatically filter out right? Like those that are graded or ungraded. And if I'm looking for a specific card, like I'm just going to go in here. But what I'll do is I'll type in, I don't want to just be snotty, right, and just look for tens. So I'm going to double, triple check, right? So like, let's say I get there, those that are 10, 9, 5s, and 9s. And sometimes here's where you can find some cool things, right? Sometimes people might mislabel their listings. And so, right, like sometimes somebody might put in authentic or check that box. So sometimes you can find some hidden gems when you click that on and find out what's going on. So that's a good way to kind of look at it, right? Like there's a fast break hollow. That's probably a pretty good little card. Silver Prism. I've got a little bit of MPJ. I think given time, he could be really good. The Nuggets are obviously a decent team. Yeah, like see a rookie blue for 115. That's Big Boy Sports. He sells a ton of stuff. I wonder what that actually sells for. So what I usually do here, and this is just me being right, like kind of just ghetto. Like I'll go in here and just copy it. And then because I know I'm looking for a specific card, I'll type that in here. Same thing like if I'm on my phone, rather than trying to go back into the search button and type in Michael Porter Jr., right? Like all that sort of stuff. So see what I know it's going to give me here. Even this, it's going to results matching fewer words. So there we go. Like this is obviously going to be a pretty pricey card, but then it's going to show us Triple J. So sometimes you also have to look and see like, okay, does this person have way too much, like too many specifics in their listing? So like a lot of times what I might do here is just, right, like take all this out and do auto. Now I notice I filter out the BGS 9510, but right, like just because that person listed it that way, right? When you take that out, okay, now I'm looking for just autos. I might get something else that's similar to it that I think kind of helps, right? So there's some other cool cards. Like there's obviously a raw optic fast break signature. There's a PSA, right? Like, so that gives you a good idea of kind of how that works. And so, okay, this is kind of a cool one. This is a PSA 9 Disco Bubbles. Okay, so gotta love Disco Bubbles. Never know what you're gonna find on there or what somebody thinks something is actually referred to as. So gotta love that, right? Like, so that gives you an idea of kind of how to look for things. I certainly am definitely of the mindset here where you can find something and say, okay, it's $249.99 or best offer. I typically will look for those or kind of seek those out if I'm looking for a particular card, and then go in and basically say, right, like here's the best offer. I'm going to make a low ball or kind of lower end offer on it. So when you go in here, you can click to make offer. I'm not going to actually do it, but you get the idea. So if it's listed for 250, let's just say I'm going to offer and start at 200. Right, that gives you an idea of kind of how it looks. I can add a message to the seller. So there was, a guy the other day that was asking about Luca Astro, where right, like we kind of went back and forth because he said he had other stuff. So sometimes that's really helpful to be able to communicate with a buyer or seller in that offer stage, or you can get an idea of where their bottom line is at. Before you actually make an offer or get too deep in it. Some of those, right, like you actually get 5 offers in total. So depending on when you put that timing on, that makes a difference as well. Let's take a look. Yeah. Adebayo is another guy that I think is really good. That would be somebody. Let's take a look at his stuff. I haven't looked lately on. So let's look at Bam Adebayo rookie. Let's see if there's some good stuff. So like, this is something that's always important to know too. It's definitely the more, I think you guys are probably seeing it just as much as I have, especially if you're looking at raw cards. These ones that say, please read, you have to really kind of read the fine print to understand, hey, if they're telling you it's off center or if there's something wrong with the card, or like on those Lucas or Zions, it'll tell you there's a buyback or, all that sort of stuff. So in order to find out what the seller is actually disclosing, right, you have to go down here. You have to actually read this on the condition. Okay, no visible wear. That doesn't necessarily tell us anything. So I don't know if that's one that, definitely on that, that might be good. It might not. Then you really have to get into the pictures to see what's going on with them. So I usually start here with the zoom over. I actually look at the corners like this and get a feel for what that looks like. It's always kind of hard to do. There you go. So corners might be okay. You can kind of get a sense for the picture of how the angle, if the centering, you might get a decent shot at how that is. Some people are really good at pictures, some are not. All in all, this doesn't look like, right, for $5.99, that's all that bad of a condition of card. The problem is you're not getting any picture of what the back of the card looks like. So that's definitely something to consider. But for $5.99, right, like you can't go too bad with that. Pretty low investment. Yeah, definitely. I like MPJ. A lot of people aren't talking about Kyle Kuzma, right? Which is kind of interesting because I feel like people were high on Kuzma for such a long time, and then just all of a sudden, right? Like people haven't been talking about him either in quarantine or what. So I'd be interested to hear your guys' perspectives on Kuzma too, because he could be kind of a sleeper buy, especially if the Lakers go deep into the playoffs. Right? Like, yeah, I'm with you guys, and the Damian Lillard's a good, a decent buy, but if they're not going to make it deep in the playoffs, that's going to be a little bit tricky. Certainly something that I've been looking at a lot. Man, this isn't a bad buy here. Oh, okay. So this one just ended today at 8:50, so 2 minutes ago. Okay, got it. So like that would be one that sometimes I look at actual completed items or look at stuff that's actually sold so I can get a sense of what I might want to target next. And especially not like on a blue velocity, but something that's way, way, way down deep in the rabbit hole. If it's a Luka that is sort of off the radar, you can find some stuff there. So that's definitely a good one, right? Yeah, like, so here's another read description. We want to actually see what this is. So this is nice that this seller has actually said condition very good. We're going to just look at it real quick. So like right off the bat, there isn't necessarily anything visible, maybe the bottom there on the edges that doesn't look quite right, but nothing super off there. But this guy's got a lot more pictures, so that's always helpful. This guy has definitely zoomed in or given you a lot in terms of disclosure. So this is definitely not the norm on what you see when you're buying raw cards. This guy actually, right, and try to zoom in pictures so you can see scratches on pictures 5, 6, and 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there's something else. I don't know if you guys saw it too. He said, I think maybe he said it was in the upper corner. Ah, there you go. Okay, so definitely something that you're not going to see kind of on a far up scan, but definitely this guy is super nice, doing something that not a lot of people do, and you don't always see, right? That he's got a good idea of that surface imperfection. Definitely something you want to look out for. You can't always find it, and certainly not most people are going to actually talk through it, right, and give that a lot. So Yeah, Spicy P is definitely a good one. I think he's definitely got a lot of upside. Playing on the Raptors, I would definitely take a look at him. Yeah, and I think Kuzma, that might not be a bad way to look, right? So like sometimes I'll do Kuzma rookie card just to get a sense. And so like let's just try and look at something that we can actually buy. The other thing that I will do, especially if I'm bored and trying to find something that right, like, so I'll flip it and try and look at time ending soonest. So if I know something, right, okay, so like here's one that's got a minute left, right? So this is always tough because it kind of puts me on the clock and keeps my game fresh. So be like, okay, here's a Chronicles, LeBron. That's a decent looking card, numbered to 99. So like this other stuff, right? Like I would never put that in there. I'll copy it. This is always nice on the app too. You can go here, go down here. Oh crap, I didn't do that. So like obviously if you put in 51 to 99, nothing else is going to come back in it. So like I would just do this to get a sense of what some comps are. Hopefully this is now going to show you. So it's going to show you different variations, right? Like a base or a red or, right, this is numbered to 99. You can kind of drill down. And sometimes it's helpful to do completed and sold. Okay, so here are Chronicles, all that sort of stuff. You're not going to see exactly what you're looking at. The way sometimes when you don't find this right off the bat, right? Like, so these are all the base. There's that one that is, okay, so like this guy titled it the artist proof. I didn't see it in that other one. I'm not familiar with 1718 Chronicles to know enough on it. But like the other way to kind of get that is to go here, and this is kind of my hack for it, is just type into 99, and then that's going to at least give you stuff that's numbered to 99. So like there's that one. Okay, so there aren't any other eBay comps on this, or at least not ones that we can find. But it's going to show you others to 99. Sometimes that's helpful, especially like if a set has first come out and you're trying to get an idea of what a comp is, like Mosaic, right? When it first came out a month ago or whatever, you have to kind of guess what the market could be. So that's a good way to do that if you kind of check and be like, okay, it's streamed to 99. Right? Like I think that's a good way to kind of, again, guess at the market, or at least kind of set the stage on it. Man, okay, so Kuzma Silver's kind of in the 220, or is this a 4 lot? So it's always hard, especially in where we've been, being in quarantine, kind of how the market has kind of ebbed and flowed. You sort of also have to really get good at looking at when it's sold. So like here's a Kuzma. This is a silver that went on March the 31st. And here's one, wow, okay, that sold on June the 2nd. So Kuzma may be one that doesn't have, right, like his cards may not have come back up out of that dip. Certainly if you're looking at like Luka and LeBron and stuff like that, their cards in that March the 31st time were kind of down, and then they've kind of risen back up. But even then, right, like here's one that's a green, sold on March the 14th for 76 bucks. So there are some deals to be had on Kuzma. Definitely, right, like there's a base for 30 bucks. Not a bad little player. That's awesome. Okay, so one of the things I want to do is just kind of show you guys too what I'm kind of looking for. One of the things I've been looking to pick up, and we're going to go see if we can find something to buy. So I'm going to actually buy something right now. I'm going to check through and check those off. And then I want to show you a little bit more on, appreciate it, Chris. How you doing, brother? On Pete Alonso. So let's just start with Pete Alonso, Topps rookie. Start there. Again, sets the base, right? Like he's got, this is really the card that I'm looking for, this Topps Series 2. He's got a number of different variations. There's this one that's like the no sock. There's this one where you can see his sock a little bit right there. This is actually the base. That's probably, both of these are probably pretty right on what I'm looking for. You can see like here's some that are not PSA, BGS, all that sort of stuff. Derek, you're kind of doing what I've been doing. I haven't been buying a lot of baseball. I've been thinking about selling a lot of it. I've been consolidating. Really, the two I've been thinking about are Alonso and Acuna as actually sticking to. Just because I think they've got more upside outside of Trout, right? Like those are some guys that really I think have it, right? And you guys know what I'm talking about, that it factor. So like, yeah, there's the rookie debuts, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so I always have to look at this, right? Like, so here's another one. This is a PSA 8, I think. Sometimes you have to get in there and actually look and see what that's got. We're going to stay away from that. Refractor. That's always kind of cool. Yeah, I don't really see anything in here. So a lot of times I'll just abandon searches. I'll get kind of into it. If there's something that kind of, right, sparks my fancy, I'll go to it. If not, right, like, I'm not going to buy a Topps. Is it Heritage? There's a bunch here. So you can kind of see as you get into this, right, like the amount of searches, you kind of have to be patient with it to kind of drill down to what you want. Otherwise, you might miss out. Some of the things that I've found lately, yeah, definitely Tatis is definitely another one that I've bought a little bit of. And Bo Bichette, I think, is maybe another one. Okay, so like, I forget what the Ronald Acuna bat down is. So like 250, I think. Yeah, it was 250. So like you could type in here this 2018 Topps Update Ronald Acuna Jr. USA 250 PSA 10. If you're that specific and granular in your search terms, it's only going to bring back those, and it's only going to bring back PSA 10s. That's actually not bad, right? Like in that it shows you what's up with it. This is really interesting, though. You can see, right, same card, at bat in blue jersey, Gem Mint 10 PSA, the variability on how some of these guys are listing, which is super crazy if you ask me. So here's a 220 OBO. Here's a 399 OBO. This one, for whatever reason, maybe it just got listed, or maybe, right, like, I don't know. See, both of these are sponsored. This one, for whatever reason, has 14 watchers. This one has 0. So I would certainly, right, like kind of snipe at this, and, you know, like offer at that one, because this one doesn't have a lot of them. And the same thing too, when you've got people looking at it, it's a good way to go. Okay, so you've got a Junie, you've got a 2017 Bowman's Best Gold Acuna auto. Yeah, I mean, that might be something I'd be interested in. So feel free to hit me up here or on Instagram. We can talk about it. Would love to see the card. Man, that'd be nice to just go spend, right, drop almost a G on 4 cards. That's pretty crazy. So like I like these variations, right? This is one that, man, finding something like this, even though it's obviously not the most sought after Acuna, right? Rookie debut. It's a cool pose though. Him stretching out for a ball, still in the PSA slab, right? $75. So it's almost half of what the others are. I mean, that's definitely right. Like something to kind of keep in mind. Let's take a look at this and see. This may be one. Oh, I've got it back on. So I always forget. So I want to see 2 here. There isn't any difference with this. You'd have to search rookie debut to kind of go down. So sometimes I'll just start and put in the sold items here. And I forget. Sometimes if you hit sold before that, it'll show you both completed and sold, that's the pro move, as opposed to what I was doing. So of course it's going to show you all the at bat, right, like those right off the bat. There's an ungraded one. So it'll even show you stuff. Sometimes it slips in there. Somebody might have put PSA 10 question mark, so that it'll show up in these search results. So right, sellers have gotten pretty sophisticated when they do that. And so we're going to put in rookie debut. So on that 7, well, you're going to spell rookie, right? Not Rocky. So sometimes this is finicky, right? In that it's going to just show you results matching fewer words. I bet if I just didn't do this, we'd get it there. Yeah. So here you go. This gives you a good idea, right? Like here's a Beckett that sold for $44.99, $30.29. So that $75 card is way, way, way overpriced. Certainly wouldn't go pay that on a buy it now if it had an offer, right? Depends on how bad you want it, but that's a good one, right? Where you would say, man, I'm going to stay away from that until you get closer. I'm definitely in the hold category, right? Like certainly going to buy some more Acuna and hold on to him for a while. I think he's, again, still young and is going to be good for a while. So, man, I'm sure some more people are selling this and I just haven't seen it. So sometimes if I really hone in on a card like this and I'm not looking for the bat down, right? Like, so what I did is I just took off the PSA 10 in the actual search terms. So now this is going to show me, right? So yeah, like here's a Chrome version of that. Man, that's a good way to go at it. So like here's a 3 lot. I definitely like that of that Chrome card. So that's kind of nice. Can't really tell what all 3 of them look like. That just looks like one of them. You can see this one's got a different number on it. So that's why it's not US 250. So that was important to kind of get there. That might not be a bad option. I don't know that I would necessarily want any of those or like some more ungraded ones. But like, here you go. This is better. Oh, that's mint 9. So you really got to be diligent on this to get an idea of what's going on. Geez, there's a 9 for 225. Sometimes on the left here, yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's 10s. We'll get that down. So we know the going price is in the $40 range for it. There's $63.99. Maybe that guy heard and lowered his price. So like COMC is interesting, right? Because it will give you that range of how different sellers have priced them. So you have to go in here and look and see. So like a lot of different people in this have priced it all over the place here. Well, like here's one, 34.75. That would certainly be right, like in the range that I would want to pay. What you got to keep in mind from ComC, especially when you're buying through eBay, is that if you're just buying a single card, $4.99 is outrageous just to pay for that one single card. I would encourage you to go to ComC, right to their website. Obviously, go buy other stuff, and then save yourself some shipping cards. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, Nicholas, on the base Acuna auto, right? Like I haven't looked a ton of them. I think the definitive ones in my mind are really kind of the top of the line. But like triple threads is super cool. Sometimes it's dependent upon the patch or the number, on how sick that is, right? So kind of important to know there. Okay, so I'm gonna see if there's anything else here. So one of the other things that I'll do, right, like is look and kind of shop based on shipping costs. So like here's one, this is good, $38.99, $3.95 shipping OBO. Here's a $40, $3.50 shipping, right? So we're like all kind of right in that range. So a lot of times what I'll do, this is just me, it's not personal preference, right? Like, so this looks like pretty standard now. We've got it down to $35 OBO. So what I'm going to do is just find one, right, that probably has a lot of time left. Given that these are all graded, I don't have to worry too much about condition, but I'll go in here and let's just make an offer. So 35, typically what I'll do a lot of times is offer, kind of think of it like if you're buying a car kind of a thing, or start roughly at about 80% of what you want to get that. So I got to do the quick math, can't do that. 80% of $35, 28. So let's just do that, right? And so everybody kind of has a different opinion on this. I don't know that there's a right way to do this, but I'll leave my offer open and we'll just send that along there. See if he sells it to me, right? What's nice when you do it on your phone, if they have a minimum threshold that they won't sell it to you for less than $25 or something like that, if you put in your initial offer before you actually say that, right, like that $25, they'll say increase your offer. And so that's always a good way to do it. Yeah, Nicholas, if you got a Stadium Club auto, that might not be one I'd turn down or look at. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on how to go about this. I wanted to show you one pro move that I've been looking at on Luka's, trying to hunt some of them down. So a lot of people, for whatever reason, can't spell Doncic right. So sometimes, right, trying to find Luka's, if somebody lists them under a different name, right? So like, do like Luka Doncic. So it's going to give you and tell you, did you mean Luka Doncic, the correct spelling? Sometimes there's stuff in here, sometimes there's not. I found one the other day that I think sold already. Luka Doncic. Yeah, here you go. So like, oh, it doesn't have it in there. But you get the idea, right? That if you're looking for that hot card, Zoin Williamson, right? So people just don't even take the time to look over their own listings. And sometimes you can find one. I mean, if you were looking for Mosaic stuff, right? Nobody is looking at this right now because nobody's thinking to look at Zoin. So that's always a kind of a good way to do it. God, I love those Crown Royales. This is one, right? Like, I always love seeing those. So yeah, that's really kind of what I had thought for tonight. Do you guys have any other questions or other things that I can help answer for you, or kind of navigate around in eBay? Show you kind of how my strategies are. I typically try and do right, like maybe 15 to 30 minutes of research before I'll actually right? Like buy a card, or like I'll put in an offer on something, just to get a sense of kind of how the market's doing. This is one that I've kind of been looking at, some die cuts on some Zion, or some jersey cards, because again, I think those are a good way to go about it. And anybody had luck either buying from China or buying from out of the country, right? Like obviously I haven't. Not opposed to it. Just a matter of having found the right card to buy. There's a base for $79.99. That's definitely something I should look at. Yeah, Court Kings definitely been something I've been watching a lot of breaks on. I went hard on some autos last year out of Court Kings. That's a good one, right? So this is one of the ones that I've been looking at. It's so crazy just to see the discrepancy, though, from one listing to the other at $80 difference, right? You got to really be disciplined to know what you're looking for and not just, right, like go buy that. Certainly early on, right, like tip for anybody who's new into the game, don't just take that first offer. Don't just buy, right, like that sticker price. That's definitely a starting point for negotiations, right? You definitely got to get in there and look and see. Certainly with these, I'm not going to go buy. Yeah, like here's one. That's crazy. $1,700. That's insane. But with Court Kings, because it's so new, yeah, like this is a much better way to look and actually get at least a relative idea of what the marketplace is. Certainly the catch is this is not going to be all inclusive, all encompassing, right? Like it's just going to give you a starting point on where you should look, right? Like what you should offer in an OBO situation, right? Like it's so tough, especially with everything. Harder to get, single packs for you to open, harder for you to be able to get access to a lot of good singles, right? Everything is competitive now on eBay. People are looking at all different marketplaces and stuff like that. I'm going to have a video coming next week on some of that. So stay on the lookout for that. Junie, appreciate the feedback there. Nicholas, appreciate you guys stick with me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. If you guys want, feel free to hit me up on Instagram, Sports Card Flip Game. Hit me up on TikTok. I'm on there as well. My email. If you got specific questions or things you want to see in another video forthcoming, I think I'll do some of these from time to time just to give you guys a sense of kind of what's going on with the market, how I'm looking at things, because I think sometimes you need to see it kind of hands-on. Did I say my email? No, I didn't. sportscardflipgame@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you all and appreciate it. So I'm going to sign off for tonight. You guys have a good one. And until next time, we're going to always sign off this way. Keep your flip game strong. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.